biggest trouble is once we start knowing things, once we start becoming wise, and once we know that individually we aren't as significant as all of us, and that doesn't mean that we should be followers, it means that we should be listeners. We should pay attention to the rest of us because the rest of us are part of us. And I've seen this work. A lot of what I know isn't my knowledge. I mean, what do I know? I know things that I've read, I know things from other people, and you accumulate things and you keep working at it, and eventually you see a pattern and you see, and that's part of what the empire, the structure of the ruling class being the ruling class because God said, the whole thing will fall apart if they don't have 98% of the population being ignorant and poor and slaves and struggling. The whole system we have is done on purpose, and we like to think that it's a shame that people are starving in Africa or in your hometown or anywhere. But we don't do anything about it because we think that we are completely and utterly incapable, and the only thing that can be done is if the empire or the leaders, the rulers, if they decide. And no, we can say no. We say we'll do whatever we want, and that is starting to happen. If it is starting to become a pattern that people say, okay, I'm not going to work 40 hours a week for the man, I'm going to start doing a few things for myself and a few things for my community. And that, as soon as you just do a little bit for the rest of the people in your community, it changes everything. It changes everything probably in days. As soon as 18 people start, it changes things. It goes from the negative influence you have by being a non-participant to the positive influence you have by being a partial participant. You don't have to go right crazy and dedicate your life to anything. Just dedicate your life to life and the whole thing will fit. Okay, verse 11. Who told you that you were naked? Now this is a very good question. Who told us that there was shame in nakedness? I mean, a child doesn't know this, and when I sit around naked, I don't know it either because I can't remember where it came from. Because I think where it came from is the establishment. The establishment says if you're naked, that's a bad thing. Well, it's a really bad thing, especially if you don't go there and buy lots of clothes. I mean, the fashion industry would fall apart if you weren't covering yourself up all the time. In some cultures, it's okay to be naked, and they're not different than us. They just have it not in their culture that being naked is shameful. Because a lot of this nonsense comes from the religions we propagate. I mean, until we started propagating religion, it was not shameful to be naked, and it isn't shameful to be naked. It's an illusion to believe that a naked body has something wrong with it. Of course, my naked body is a bit fat in the belly, but that doesn't matter either. I mean, I shouldn't get too fat because that's being careless or whatever, but that's not the issue. The issue is, it doesn't matter what you look like. Don't be ashamed of your body. It's pointless, it's ridiculous, and it is not your shame. It is shame that you've been given from the empire, from the horrors of the empire, calling themselves the church, the moral standards given to us mostly by bloody Moses, and they're all absurd. And he was a tyrant, and believing tyrannical dictatorship is stupid. So, wait a second, we'll get to verse 6. Okay, and as a punishment for wisdom, God then curses everybody. He curses Adam and says, you're going to have to work for your living, and we're going to take away everything. We're going to cut down all the forests and jungles so that you can't go in there and get any food, and you're going to have to struggle for your living. And that's not exactly what it said, but that's what's happened. And it says to the woman, I will make severe your pangs in childbearing, in pain shall you bear children, yet your urge shall be for your husband, and he shall rule over you. Okay, this whole concept of the man ruling over the woman, now that's complete madness. I mean, and if a woman has an urge for a husband, that's called sexual desires, and I believe that it goes the other way as well. It goes both ways, usually, and at least in a developed country, you have sexual desires from both sides, and the sexual desires are real, and they're older than us. And sexual desires are not anything to be ashamed of. It's called the reproduction nonsense, and if without reproducing, we wouldn't be here. So forget about having any idea that there's anything wrong with sex. There's nothing wrong with sex. There's something wrong with rape, and a lot of that is how we act. I mean, if you cover up your women and tell them they're less than cattle, and then you have sex with them when they're not your equals, that's rape. That's like fucking a dog. So religion just makes no sense, especially for women. I cannot understand why any woman would accept any religion. And if you're a woman and you think that this is crazy, go and read the Bible.